Ready to Die is a revival of the popular Roblox Zombie game Reason to Die Awakening, highlighting the best and the worst parts of it. Now, the original Reason to Die Awakening was released to Roblox in 2015, and it certainly had its ups and downs. What originally started as a nice little Left 4 Dead style game eventually began to be known for spawn killing, being unwelcome to new players, general toxicity, and a lot of other things that you could probably put into a video essay about it. Due to this, Reason to Die had a very troubled life cycle and eventually was shut down. A lot of fans were naturally upset over this, so a handful of different people attempted to make their own revived versions of the infamous Roblox Zombie game. Ready to Die, by default, has been the only successful recreation thus far, garnering a large amount of hype and player numbers. And that's what seemed to be really dominating the conversations regarding this game before it was released. It's a recreation of the game that you love. You're going to be able to relive your old memories of Reason to Die, and maybe even get some proper closure after its abrupt discontinuation. And also, the game isn't going to be bad, like Undead Strike. A lot of longtime fans rushed in to finally get a chance to play their beloved Roblox game again. And in that regard, Ready to Die definitely delivers. The game gives you what's decently close to an authentic Reason to Die experience. However, I think it's worth mentioning that there are many other aspects that should factor into a game's quality, especially when the original game had a large amount of issues within it. As I mentioned in my Undead Coming review, when you remake an old game, you often bring its old problems along for the ride. The original Reason to Die Awakening was by no means a perfect game. I played the game quite a lot in my earlier teen years, but I'm able to acknowledge its flaws and missteps without my views being diluted by nostalgia. I gradually shifted away from the game in its later years, partly because I was growing older, and partly because there's only so many times that I can bring myself to grind out the bosses in order to receive a forgettable item simply because it's limited. Continuously farming tickets and boss fights doesn't really do it for me as healthy, engaging gameplay, and the more that the game began to rely on it, the less interested I became. The biggest example of new content in Ready to Die is the controversial decision to add a summer event. Since summer is already over in the northern hemisphere, it does look a little odd, especially when you factor in the game's notorious delays. The overall event isn't that exciting either. The boss fight gets boring after a while, and he has way too much health to justify how many times that you're going to have to fight him in order to get the mount. In case you didn't know, you have to beat the boss in order for it to drop a chest, which contains the limited time crab mount. But only one chest drops, so you're most likely going to have to play multiple times. It's a really, really bad thing when your biggest thought while fighting a boss is, when can this be over already? If you look at, for example, King Cherry Cake, you have a boss that has 250,000 HP, but is still difficult to fight. Granted, King Cherry Cake is a hard boss, and I understand that the developers wanted to go easy on the new players, but I don't understand why making the boss fight take unnecessarily long will help engage new players. It just kind of felt like a waste of time, especially when you have to fight the boss over and over. When I first fought and beat the boss, I already had experienced everything. Playing the boss fight after that just felt like watching episodes of Family Guy and repeat over and over. And sadly, the problems with the event don't stop here. The jet ski race and the quest levels are also extremely painful to play over and over again. The jet ski quest in particular would be fine if the game didn't force you to win it 4 times over. And it seems I'm not the only one who has this opinion. At the end of the day, a game is meant to be fun to play. That's the reason why you play it. However, in the case of these event levels, the game isn't fun, and the only reason why you play it is to get their rewards. They don't exist to create an enjoyable experience for the player. They exist as a marketing campaign for the game passes. Think about it. You could either spend an hour of your life trying to get the jet ski mount, or you can just work for an hour or two at McDonald's and buy all the game passes yourself. And considering that the Reason to Die community is around the working age, I actually believe that this take is even more valid than ever before. So it's either the game developers want you to spend money on their game passes, or the game developers want you to farm in a 5-player server that's completely removed from the rest of the game. Did you play your own game? Did you find it fun? I mean, if you did, I admire your self-worth. However, never mind. If we're talking about basic gameplay though, I can't exactly say much about it regarding criticism because it's pretty much just old Reason to Die Awakening. The grind is still annoying, even with double XP, and certain aspects of gameplay still feel unfair, especially if you're a new player. If you were one of those people who were just looking for a proper revisiting of Reason to Die Awakening, then yeah, you're probably going to be satisfied with this game. The effort that was put into recreating the game's base at a nearly 1-to-1 scale is admirable. It's extremely accurate, and it's what makes Ready to Die work more compared to other cheap knockoffs like Undead Strike, who try to emulate the gameplay without the original style. Because truthfully, the Reason to Die gameplay loop isn't that much fun on its own. This is one of those games where I play it and I'm like, damn, I am so happy for the people who this game is made for. The definition of fun is subjective, but personally, I didn't find much to latch onto here. Since the game right now is basically just survival, the game is more or less the same thing every time. I mean, I could grind to buy the M249, but what's that going to do? You see, in the original, buying a better gun might help you achieve your objective, like winning the campaign. Right now, you're basically just buying a gun to last a minute or two longer. It's going to be the same outcome every time. You're not going to win. Like, surviving 10 minutes in this game? Yeah, right. It's kind of like Telltale Games. You might do a few things differently, but in the end, it's ultimately going to lead to the same outcome. Now, some may argue that this game does not have to be quality whatsoever and only has to achieve its job of emulating the old Reason to Die Awakening. And while this could be true, unfortunately, the game developers are trying to play it both ways here. There's several things that were tweaked in Ready to Die, the most notorious thing being the elemental zombie having a powerful one-shot ability. There's also things such as the quality of life improvement, and plans to add something like a prestige shop, where prestige players can buy event items. Some people have also pointed out the notable absence of the digger zombies, the electric elemental, the swarmer, the charged brute, and the skull champion. And while most of the zombies can be excused too, it's an alpha, obviously things aren't going to be fully added yet, it is kind of interesting how they opted out of adding the digger zombie, considering that it was one of the original zombies in Reason to Die Awakening. With these minute changes, it certainly begs the question of why they decided to change some things around but just leave others in the dust, such as the grindy quests. Or just the grind in general. Like, it takes unfairly long to get leveled up in this game. It can't be that hard to just go in and adjust the EXP requirement values, right? No judgment there though, it's not my game. And, if your biggest concern is Breadian, they can't make the grind easy because then everybody will be running around with miniguns and M249s. Then, why not consider making the top tier weapons not incredibly overpowered? The Stay RM is a great example of how to make a starter weapon powerful, as it's probably one of my favorite starter weapons in any game ever. Once again, by making the grind pointlessly painful, you're only promoting the inorganic tactics of going into a 5-player server and doing the thing that happens in 5-player servers. Many people were also criticizing the fact that the game decided to make a summer event, when one of the biggest criticisms in the original game was the spammage of event bosses. Perhaps the developers should have allocated their dev time elsewhere, perhaps towards developing more permanent aspects of the game, to polish off the launch more. As I said before, Ready to Die does a great job at capturing the old framework of Reason to Die Awakening, but there's still a few moments where the effort is much more apparent than the desired effect. I feel as if in order to really get the proper nostalgic feel, you're going to have to wait a while. This is one of those games where you play it and you're like, man, that was fun. Time to come back in a few months when they add the parts I was actually excited for. And it's not like the community isn't entirely unfamiliar with the idea of playing the waiting game. Ready to Die is well scripted, competently made, and did a great job at recreating maps, weapons, and the overall flaws and prospects of the original, but it's not really a game that succeeded to impress me. Ready to Die isn't a Roblox Zombie game that I would consider underwhelming, to the point of it being a crime worthy of scrutiny, although some people may say otherwise. However, since it's only in alpha right now, it is worth mentioning that a lot of the elements that helped make the original game aren't quite here yet. I liked the addition of daily rewards, I liked how playing zombies is less painful than before, arguably giving you more XP than playing Survivor. I admire the game in general, and the effort that was put forth into it, and that's why I bought the game passes. And a skin crate for a weapon that isn't even out yet. I guess you can say that I admire what they have planned in the future. The game is just fine. With that being said, I'm Breadian, I talk about niche Roblox games. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, consider subscribing, liking, sharing, and also checking out my other videos on Reason to Die that I've done in the past. Yes, I know the game is in alpha, but I got a lot of comments to review it, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Wait, I have.
I want a pill. I'm not. No. I have pills though. I'm not using it though.
Okay.
I have an MRE. I have the slightest sign of taking damage. I will eat this.
This is a sign. This is a sign. This is a sign. Octane. Oh my god.
Okay. Dude, I wasn't paying attention.